We're going to start a new project, which is an app that'll help us convert from feet to yards. And we're going to start a new project. We're going to call it Feet to Yards. App Inventor apps can't have spaces in their name, so just put these words together and capitalize each letter in the word feet, and then to, and then yards, and click OK. Now, if you've not already started your emulator, if you're not already connected to a tablet or something like that, go ahead and go to Connect, and then choose Emulator or Connect, and connect with a companion. But I've already got an emulator loaded, and we're just going to start building this app. So what does this app need to look like? What inputs does it need to take? What outputs does it need to give? And what kinds of interface elements do we need to use to do that? So I know that we're going to need to type in a number for the number of feet, so we can use a text box. Anytime you want to type something in, even if it's words, if it's numbers, doesn't matter, you're going to use a text box. There's not really a number box. So text box can take words or take numbers. But you know what? There's a setting we can change on this text box to make it so it only takes numbers. And it's right here called Numbers Only. Numbers Only is a setting that we can change to make a text box only accept numbers. And so now you'll see the keyboard here automatically changes to the number keys whenever we make that change to numbers only. I see that it says hint for text box 1. I can also change that hint text to say something like enter number of feet, because I want them to type the number of feet they have in that box. And now it says enter number of feet. So the input is our text box. Our output needs to be something like a label that can display text. So I'm going to drag a label over, and I'm going to change the font size to like 22 so it's easier for me to read. Here we go, text for label 1. And right now we don't know what the answer is, so let's change that text to just dash dash. Like, I'll put dash dash in a label a lot if I'm anticipating later having a value, but right now I don't know the number. So now we have our input, which is text box 1. We have our output, which is label 1. And now we just need a way to make it go, because I can type 240 in here all day, but I don't have a button to push to make it go. So I would actually use a button. You can drag a button in, and we can change some properties of this button, like the text. We want to change that to convert or calculate or go, or some word to indicate that the pushing this button will make that calculation happen. But I also don't like the arrangement of the convert button being below the answer. I'd really love to have it here beside the box, but no matter how carefully you drag it, it's either going to go above or below the box, because in App Inventor things stack on top of each other. But we can override that using a layout, and under the layout group in your palette, we can find a horizontal arrangement. Horizontal arrangement is just like an invisible box that you can put stuff in, and the things you put in the box go side by side. So I'm going to drag my text box in, I'm going to drag my button in, and if you wanted to, you could drag your label in as well. But I'm just going to put those two together so that then I have enter the number of feet, and then I have convert, and then I have this thing down here. So now I could do 270 feet, not 279, but 270 feet, and then push convert. Still didn't do anything. The reason it didn't do anything is we never did program in the behaviors, and the behaviors are assigned in the blocks editor. So we have all of our screen components together, but we need to go edit the blocks. So I click the blocks to open the blocks editor, and now we need to think about this in pieces. The first piece is what event is going to trigger the calculation. Is it that they've typed a number in? Is it that they shook the phone? Well, no, in this case it's that they pressed that convert button. The event that's going to trigger the calculation is when they press convert. So the button's name is button 1, and the event is when button 1 gets clicked. When button 1 is clicked, we want to do something. So we want to do some math, and then we want to store the value in a place on the screen. You usually want to start your calculations here with the destination in mind. Begin with the end in mind. So where on our screen are we going to display that value? And that's right here in this label, and its name is label 1. Well, we can change a bunch of things about label 1, but the thing we want to update is its text. We want to update what's displayed in label 1's text. So when button 1 is clicked, we're going to change label 1's text to something. And that something is going to be the result of our calculation. Well, what kind of calculation is required to convert from feet to yards? There are 3 feet per yard. So to go from feet to yards, we're going to need to divide. And divide is under the math group. So we can find the divide block and just plug it right in. And we're dividing, because there are 3 feet per yard, we're dividing by 3. So you can go to the math group and get out a number block and change that number to 3. So we're dividing something by 3. And in this case, we want to divide that 270 by 3. But how do we get to it in the blocks editor? We get it out of the text box. So we go to text box 1, and nothing here says 270. We don't know what number they're going to type in, but we can sure find text box 1's text. Even though it's numbers they typed in, it's still referred to as the text in text box 1. So I'll plug this in and read it one more time before we push it. When button 1 is clicked, set label 1's text, set that guy right there, to whatever they typed in the text box, divide by 3. And now we get 90. If we had a number like 24, that's 8 yards. It would be nice if we had the word yards after it, and we can do that by using the designer, and it would be another label. So bring out another label, format that label with the same colors and font size, and then change that font, or change that text to yards. So what if I wanted, instead of saying 8 yards with 2 lines, what if I wanted it to be side by side? I get these side by side the same way I got those side by side, by using another horizontal arrangement. Just drag one in, drag the first thing in you want, drag the second thing in you want, and there you go. It's once the emulator catches up with us, it'll show the yards and the number side by side. And so I can put in 51, and that's going to say that was 17 yards. Well, this is a very simple calculation app, and any app that takes a single input and produces a single output can be made in this way. Absolutely, there are adjustments you can make to this app to make it more appealing. You can change the colors, you can change the fonts, you can change the sizes. Once you learn how to use arrangements, you could even then say horizontal arrangement is going to be fill the parent wide. That imaginary box is going to be as wide as the screen is. And if you did that, then you could even say something like, we're going to center our output on the screen. And that way your answer would show up in the center. Or we could change the background color of the screen. Or we could change a lot of things, but we're just getting started now. So this is the kind of the idea that all of your simple conversion apps are going to take. Now that you've seen how to do feet to yards, I'd like you to work on an app to convert between Fahrenheit to Celsius.